Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Fake Nerds Watch, a fantabulous return to The Last of Us with the rest of us. I'm, of course, Sparkz Witty, joined, as always, by my friend Ryan Eliopoulos.
Hello, it's great to be back.
Hello, hi.
Hello, hi.
And I'm also joined from a distance by our friend Phai.
Hi, I am the third of us.
I'm so excited you're back. I'm happy to be back here to talk about 2 episodes because we were both away. And now we're going to get into 2 of the juiciest episodes of the season.
We're going to talk about juicy like venison.
Left Behind, episode 7, which is directed by Liza Johnson and written by Neil Druckmann.
Ooh.
And episode 8, When We Are in Need, directed by Ali Abbasi, who will also be our director for the finale.
Hell yeah.
And written by Craig Mazin. So we're going to go 1 episode at a time. We'll talk about episode 7. We'll talk about episode 8. If this is your first time joining us, a reminder,
hello.
We do not talk about video game spoilers and the stuff ahead until later at the end of the episode, and we will tell you when we're going to do that. So
yes.
No spoilers beyond what has appeared in the television show here, friends.
This is a TV show only thing until it's not. And we'll let you know when.
However, we will be referencing the things that happened in the game that are different or the same in comparison to where we're at in the show. So do be aware of that. All right. Great. Excited to be here. Guys, how'd you like, let's just say just episode 7. How'd you like episode 7?
Fantastic.
Would you be shocked to say this is another good episode of The Last of Us?
I would not be.
Can you believe it? They've done it 7 times in a row. Can't believe it. And this was the only game material that I didn't play. So I played Left Behind before I watched this.
Hell yeah.
And like that didn't, just so I can have a basis of like what's different and not. And man, that's a great episode of TV, a great adaptation. The things that are different, I think, work. And like the performances, our 2 actors in this episode are just phenomenal. Really beautiful stuff happening. Again, every episode has like really beautiful stuff in the midst of like the apocalypse, which is interesting.
Yeah. I agree. This is one of our most anticipated episodes just because we knew we were going to get here and we just really wanted to see it, I think. And I'm really happy with it. I'm really glad that they went the route. If you played the DLC that this is based on, which is also called Left Behind, just like the episode, you know that at this point in the story, what it's doing is cutting back and forth between Ellie looking for medicine to take care of Joel and this story in her past with Riley. And I think it was better for the show that we weren't doing the constant switching.
Yeah.
I was wondering going into it if we were going to do that, but I like better that we were doing, much like the Bill and Frank episode, a thing on the present at the beginning and then a thing on the present at the end.
Yeah, it's again because like they're cutting out so much of the gameplay, and again just literally having played that, like those sections are you avoiding clickers and you avoiding humans as they fight clickers, and like you're just trying to do your thing for Joel and other people are getting in the way of it. So like again, that stuff's not really necessary to the story they're telling. That's just a way of padding the gameplay. Again, it's a video game, so you have to do that stuff. So like not necessary for the show. It would have been cool, guys. Stalker week. Time to talk about stalkers. Guess what? Stalkers show up in the Left Behind thing, and I freaked out the first time I saw it because it went rawr! And I'm like, yeah. So I expected in the show another week, no stalkers. Next season, baby. Next season.
Hey, you never know.
Oh well.
1 more episode.
No,
you might get a stalker.
He shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah, you might just. I think that they found a good way to interpret the story in for the television viewing audience. I really, really like it. Phai, why don't you say some stuff? You're pretty enthusiastic about this episode.
I thought it was a great adaptation of the Left Behind. They know what fat to trim for the adaptation, so I'm pretty happy with that. Sparkz, did you play the Left Behind DLC?
Yes, it's just been a long time. So okay. My memory of it is I started to replay it, but I didn't have enough time to go all the way through before I was away, and then I haven't had enough time to go back to it since I returned.
Mm-hmm.
My memory is a little Fuzzy.
For the most part, like this is it. Like this is a truncated version of like everything that you do in that game that you do a version of it in the show.
Yeah.
Some things are different. Some things like I like some things in the game more, and there's some things I like in the show more.
Sure.
It's just the nature of adaptations. I personally, let's wait. We'll talk about the for game stuff because I don't want to spoil a really great moment from the game in case people play it. This episode basically being like a last date for Riley and Ellie. Riley
and a first date.
A first date and a last date. Yeah, good point. Ellie's friend Riley has been missing. She comes back out of nowhere and she's like, Ellie, let's go to the mall and hang out for a time, right? And then she's like, hey, I'm leaving. Drama ensues, bad things happen, but like it's just mostly a long, beautiful date between these two young people. And then just like them exploring a mall and going on a carousel and like going like and dancing and just like a great first date again in the apocalypse. The show has been so good at showing like happiness in times when people really need it. And again, it's just right there to take it away from you at the end, of course. But like that is the nature of the thing we're watching.
Constant reminder.
Yeah.
It's not people, it's plant.
It's a fungi. And he was a particularly fun guy, I gotta say. Do you see the things come out of his shoulders? Wild.
I mean, he's kind of the stalker you were looking for. He just didn't act the way you wanted.
He wasn't stocky. He was pushing things around. He was so loud. He's a loud boy, is what I would call him. I think the performances are great. Obviously, Bella Ramsey's continuing to kill it. But we get Storm Reid for this episode, and I haven't seen much of their work. But they were fantastic, and it's like
I believe they're the star of Missing.
Yeah,
which just came out.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
I believe they were also in the oh my god, A Wrinkle in Time and
the
Invisible Man.
Giant Oprah Winfrey, right? That movie.
Yeah, that one. She plays the main.
Ava DuVernay coming back around.
Gosh.
Yeah, she's really great in this, and like she brings like even like a more spiciness than even Riley had in the game. And Riley in the game was kind of spicy. Like they have like a good dynamic, her and Ellie, but like the spice level is a little even more here. Like she's got some sass that I really like. Like she doesn't, and like Ellie looks up to her and likes her so much. It is so cute. Oh my god.
I'll put it this way, which isn't me putting the game down. But I think this is accurate to my memory, and you can check me if I'm wrong. But I think that the game is so deep at that point in giving you Ellie's perspective on things that Riley feels more like a connected character to me in the show, like someone I'm actually connecting to as her own character and not who she means to Ellie. In the game, I feel like a lot of the connection is through Ellie. It's who Ellie looks at her being. And in the show, I feel like I'm seeing a lot more of Riley as a character standing on.
Okay, I see what you mean now. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I think that is a good point.
I think the lens is just broadened a little more.
Yeah.
I think in the game you're very focused on Ellie's perspective of Riley.
That's
I think
what
in the
it
show
is.
you're given more of like Riley's own perspective in the world.
You're also Riley has, again, like it's not a lot more, but she is given more of her backstory in this episode than in the game. Like a lot of the stuff, like with the fireflies and stuff. I don't believe that's. I just played it. I don't remember that being in the game, but I could be wrong. I don't. It has only been a couple days.
Which stuff do you mean? Like stuff with the fireflies?
I'm trying to remember. I could just be making shit up. I don't remember. Let me think on it.
Sure.
About it.
I think I know what you're talking about. Like for example, they don't address this in the game. But like, Riley's, I guess, career path, if she stayed with Fedra, was just going to put her in gutter duty.
Yeah, that stuff is not in the game.
No.
Yeah.
So that does add more to her motivations and why she, you understand now why she would join the Fireflies.
Okay,
but
that's thank you. That's what I'm looking for more, because like in the game it is just like I'm joining the Fireflies, but like there's no good, doesn't feel like there's a good enough reason other than the apocalypse sucks, I want to be a hero kind of thing. Like I want to be on the good side.
Right.
Whereas here, like
Marlene
we see the shit that she's going through and what Ellie's going through, like actually. So like it makes sense. Like she would want to be a Firefly. There is more context for it.
it's also providing like this clear context for their argument, which I think they're doing a good job of trying to like, you can acknowledge that Fedra's, not great.
Yeah.
But also recognize that it's not like this version, right? Because we can acknowledge that they're different depending on the QZ. They're run differently.
Yeah.
They're not run the same way like the Kansas City one was.
Yeah.
That we know about. So here you can buy into the idea that like they really believe on some level, even with their corruption, that they're trying to keep things managed and under control, and that like not everything can be all good or all bad. And it contextualizes the argument of like, why would Ellie feel like Fedra's the better place to be? It's because she sees opportunity in it for her. But recognizing that it doesn't exist for Riley is an important turn for her to have.
That I don't like security captain or whatever guy that's talking to her.
The principal.
The principal. Yeah.
No, I'm that's not what he is. Like
principal security guard.
That's what he functionally is.
He's like he is in like a principal's office basically. But yeah, he's like, Ellie, if you stick to the group, you stick to the core of what we're doing, like you'll have a hot meal and like a fresh bed, and like in a way that's him like trying to protect her, but also that's like a way of manipulation of like you work in our system and you will be rewarded. You won't live on the street if you live under our rules. And like that could be looked at in both ways of being helpful and or hurtful. And I think that's just like, again, really like the cool thing about the show is like the morality is kind of all over the place when you're dealing with the end of the world. Like you do want to protect people, but also like in the apocalypse, like you got to do bad shit. David, ugh.
We'll get.
No, I know. I just want to say it.
I do think just sorry, real quick. I do think some of the Riley stuff like that, and some of the stuff about her parents that's expanded on a little more. I do think that's coming from Druckmann's American Dreams comic,
the comic book. Oh, sure.
I'm not 100%, but I think so.
That makes sense.
I didn't read all of that, so I need to go back and do that.
I mean, he is he is the guy who wrote the game too. So like,
he said, like everything that he put that's in the comic is also in the context of their minds. They said that when they were discussing this episode in particular, that they mentioned that the comic is in their minds also as backstory for these characters, as functional and something they're pulling from, even if they're not laying anything directly out on the screen. This
is not a complaint I know any of us feel like, but I just want to bring it up because people are dumb on the internet. Like people are calling this a filler episode because it doesn't quote unquote. I'm just bringing it up. It doesn't progress the plot, and I just need people to understand that like character development and like character motivations and learning the past of characters, that is important. That is just as important as moving forward. I just think that's a silly thing, and I'm surprised people are talking about this episode. Like I think this is a great episode of just like people hanging out having fun, and people are like, oh, we're not doing enough, and I'm like, I just don't know what people want anymore. That's crazy.
Not only go ahead.
I was like, if they're gonna make those comparisons, say to the Bill and Frank episode, at least this one features the main character, and you understand why she's making these decisions now.
Not only that, like for an audience that's not doing anything but watching the show, you don't know Ellie's queer until this moment. True. Like this is when you find that out. You don't know.
They give you like subtext clues, but like this is when she kisses a girl.
Right? Yeah.
I just wanted to bring it up because I'm just like, this show is getting pretty much universal acclaim, but there's a couple people I'm seeing just saying some really silly things, and I'm just like, I think you guys are just saying shit to say shit. Like I definitely. Again, like I love episode 3, but like if you're going to say something about it, like that would be the one. But like that's just nonsense. Boy howdy, guys! I love masks. I love clown masks, and I love werewolf masks.
I was so nervous for a moment, like in the show. I was like, maybe we're not going to get the Halloween store.
Yeah,
I thought there was a good chance that maybe the Halloween store, like that was just the bridge too far. We're not gonna do it, especially because like it's the first thing.
Yeah.
In the game. So at a certain point I was starting to go, not too long after, we go into the back room, and she finds the pipe bombs, and I was like,
this is
we're not doing the Halloween store.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, like, I get it, and I'm fine. I'm a little sad, but I'm fine.
I also felt
and
that.
And then we get to it, and the thing is, like, I like the Halloween store even better in the context here, because the fact that the kiss moment comes here from Ellie looking at Riley, and that she's doing that like sway dancing motion, and then they take
What amazing!
literally take off their masks to have their moment where they kiss.
Awesome.
I was like, that's such a good use of the Halloween store.
That's one of the things that I do like better, because like I love that Halloween store moment, because like you could try on a bunch of different masks and you can comment on Halloween like outfits and stuff, and like that's all fun, but like this is a so much more emotional moment. And it's combining like the best part of that game with like the emotional part of the game. It just works so well. And yeah, like they're both dancing, and Ellie just like slowly realizes like, I am so in love with this girl. Oh my God. I just got to rip that mask off and kiss her. I'm like, I love that. It's so sweet. And then Big Boy shows up.
I think just by virtue of the show just being the show, it kind of keeps in your mind a little better the timetable of when this happened and when everything started, which importantly, like for Ellie, she grows up in a world that never went through the wider American revolution about being more accepting of LGBT culture. That didn't happen in 2003.
Yeah.
So this fear and trepidation that both her and Riley have about expressing their feelings for each other is like two levels of, what if I'm rejected? And then what if I'm not just rejected emotionally, but as a person?
Yeah.
Like as a fundamental part of my identity. And I think that being the thing they're both tiptoeing around throughout the whole episode is it feels more present in the show.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it is such a beautiful moment of, before she's like, I'm leaving. This is my last night. And then they had the kiss, and she's like, don't go. And she's like, you got it, dude. You got it, dude. That's all you need. That's what I was waiting for you to say this entire night. All I needed you to say was don't go, and I was never going to go. And it's just so beautiful, and I love it so much. And there's some beautiful stuff before that, and then, but
I like the escalator bit a lot.
Oh yeah, she's running up. I'm not
really
moving.
Cute. It's really cute.
Yeah, all the mall stuff, like the carousel.
Bella Ramsey really sells to me that she's never seen an escalator before. So that's, like good on her. She really makes me believe.
The photo booth moment. It has probably my favorite little scene in there, because I watched it once and then I watched half of it with you because you were watching it because he was in France. But when they're doing like the Frankenstein bit and Riley is like up on her and she's like, get off. And she does like a double take as she's getting off her. It's like a really quick double take. And I'm like, man, this is so good. She is so good. And like the way she's like, she is so into this girl, but she's trying to be cool about it. But she's a teenager, so it's like hard for her to. It's just so good. It's like, it feels so real. Yeah. It's just, again, like this entire show's had nothing but great performances.
Sure. It's a universal experience that no matter what orientation you are, anyone can experience this. People. I've got it still stuck in my mind. People calling it filler. And it's like, let's just call their heteronormative romance cis filler.
It's true.
Yeah. How's that
boring? Boring. It's boring anyway.
Yeah.
The mall looked great. They didn't like go to a mall, but they basically built one. They built so many big ass sets.
Actually, yes, they did.
They did go to
a mall.
So what they talked about in the podcast episode is that there actually was a mall that they were demolitioning. And so they were able to use it. The catch is that it was a 1-story mall and they needed a 2-story mall. Okay. So this particular image behind us, that is all digital recreation. However, everything where they're on the first floor, they had done all the set work for it and all that kind of stuff.
So they built
it
in the mall.
And there was a blue line on the top of all of these rooms and areas for where the screen was going to have to carry off the second story.
So the mall was the volume. That's kind of cool, actually.
But so like that whole, so a lot of it was functional set and everything.
So like when they're running through
when they're in all the, like, that's all, those were locations they were able to use because they had a mall they could literally do whatever they wanted with.
That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. So it's like the best of both worlds. You get to build the set in a mall. That's pretty cool.
But they were both like adamant that it needed to be a 2-story mall and it needed the look and there's an idea of, especially through Ellie's eyes, like, and I think it's an important change for why the power has to be on compared to the game where the power isn't on.
Yeah.
In the DLC. But the power has to be on in the mall for
The arcade.
well, no, I was gonna say for the sense of this urban beauty to overtake Ellie.
Sure.
All the lighting, all
neon.
the attraction, neon, and everything. Yeah.
In the game, there was power, but more things inside the mall were broken.
Okay. Yeah. But it doesn't look like this. Like it's not where the power is. It's not. Most of the mall doesn't have it.
It's definitely not as vibrant. No.
Yeah, it's not going for the same idea of like being overwhelmed by the lighting and the look of it.
It's almost like half of those things should not be working after 20 years. Especially, this is not an actual problem I have, but like pinball people and arcade people on Twitter were like, "Hey y'all, none of those arcade machines would be working." I'm just letting everybody know, but it's not a big deal.
It's the one thing they got right in the game.
Yeah, and to be fair, that is the one thing in the game I do like more. They have Ellie plays imaginary Mortal Kombat with Riley giving her instructions, and it's like an imaginary battle in her mind, and that is for me way more emotional than I'm actually playing the game. But this was still a great moment nonetheless. Riley knowing how much Ellie loves Mortal Kombat. And then she probably she learned all those moves and memorized all that shit for Ellie to show her combos and like, oh, here's how you do fatalities for Ellie. She's like, yeah, I've been here a couple times, I guess. I'm like, that wasn't just for you. I know that wasn't just for you. Again, it's just like these kids are so cute.
I think it's inferred that they might have like picked up like pamphlets because they had like posters in their room, and there's like, what would you do in the apocalypse if you don't have access to these? You just
they definitely already have like an interest in Mortal Kombat 2 because they've like read a gaming magazine or something about it for sure. Like they have that interest already, but Ryan's point is still solid where like Riley already went there to like mess with it and figure it out. Put it in practice so that she could show Ellie the cool stuff,
the moves.
Putting on that note, like what I do think is a nice touch is, we're talking about like how the power would work in the mall and everything. Like you were right, most things wouldn't work, and it wouldn't even necessarily look like this. But like this is not mall lighting. What we're seeing behind us, like the overall lighting would be much brighter. It's that the bulbs are degraded, and I thought that was a good choice too, where it's like degraded and ugly. So it's got this yellow color, which is actually prettier in the context of what we're seeing. Yeah, rather than that really bright white fluorescent, that would not look as good.
It's like a starry night next to Panda Express.
I want to jump actually all the way back to Ellie being brought into the quote unquote principal's office,
principal security man.
Because I was thinking about like it was such a nice touch, and it actually got me thinking a bit about the episode before this, episode 6, and just in general like Ellie's context of things. I think Ellie, something they're doing that comes up more than once is Ellie's kind of resentment for people who had a happy family before things were bad. Because it's something she never had. And I think Ellie has that kind of like real upset over people who have it, because she's got that look on the picture of the guy's 2 daughters from before.
Yeah.
And I thought about this in the context of Joel. Like, I think it's supposed to be a little bit of a part of why her relationship dynamic with Joel gets a little sharper.
Yeah.
When she finds out he had Sarah, because she's like, okay, I thought you were a person who was much more like me and didn't have good things.
Yeah.
But you had a good thing.
And this is how it turned you into this.
Right.
Yeah. That is a good point. And then because when she's talking with Riley near the end, and Riley's like, like you don't know what it's like I did have a family, and they're all dead now.
Right.
It's awful. You don't know what it's like to lose everybody, and then then she's about to.
Right.
So it's all.
You can't escape wanting to belong.
Or to belong, yeah.
And to put that into context, like Riley's probably not the first person who's thrown that around. I'm sure Bethany's thrown that around in a meaner way.
Oh, sure.
To Ellie, like Ellie's lived in a world where she's never had that in any context, and so I think it's one of the reasons she can connect to Riley is because even though Riley had it, Riley only had it for a small amount of time.
Yeah,
and so like one of the things she really appeals to with Riley is the fact that she sees Riley as similar to her in that context. And so I think it's supposed to be a little bit of the part of why learning about Sarah rubs her the wrong way because she had an idea of who Joel was in being similar to her that she realizes was not correct.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like a line that rides of like resentment, but also like jealousy, because like she doesn't know what that's like, and like that's why she does attach to Joel, because it is like one of the first people who's ever actually like taken care of her. He's someone who will beat the shit out of other people for you, and she's like, "Ooh, I'm activated."
And also, like even going further on that idea, like because she doesn't know what that's like, and she doesn't know what happens after that in that kind of like familial relation, and then losing someone of that context. It also is saying to her, in her idea, Joel's only like this to me because of her. This has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And I think that becomes part of it too.
Yeah. He starts to see why. She starts to see why.
Not that these are massively important shades that are going to get pulled apart later.
Yeah.
But I do think that they exist.
No, yeah. The show is, because it's, it's adapting something that has existed for so long now. Like it is able to, how do I say this? It is able to like concentrate all like the game stuff from hours into like moments and make it feel real. Like there's a lot more depth that the game has, but like because you're only on like one perspective, you don't get to see as often. I think that like having so many different perspectives like allows it to breathe more.
I agree. Yeah. Oh, and if you'll remember the thing she confided, her fear that she confided in with Sam.
Yeah. Oh, like I don't want to be like left alone or something.
Yeah.
I am scared of ending up alone.
Yeah,
right.
And we get to see more of that, as you've mentioned in the past sequence, where she looks in envy and longing at family.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they just do a good job of, constantly fleshing out who Ellie is and why. I think that whole scene is really good. Like, you could make a very stupid argument that is like the filler section of this episode really is the principal stuff with Bethany and all that, but I don't think so.
No.
Because I still think it's like telling us so much about Ellie, but it's also like contextualizing the world that she's coming from.
Yeah.
And the world that Riley was also leaving in this story, and why. And it's sensible to be able to see both sides of that.
Absolutely.
That essentially, like, even as he's saying, like, if you follow this one path, everything's going to be better for you. It's also only like, it's better in the context that like you can bully people.
Yeah.
Like you'll have the stick. Congrats.
Yeah.
It's still bad. Like it's still a bad system. You just get to abuse the power of it.
Exactly. And this is the type of world where like the good people generally, like the higher you go, like they're just, unfortunately, they're just not there. And in the apocalypse, unfortunately, unless you're in Tommy's town, there seem to be the only Jackson's the only good town left in the world,
or at least functional.
Functional, yeah. Let's see,
survivable.
So there's only one infected in the mall.
I like that much better for the show.
I'm indifferent if like I like it more. I think it's great. I think both are great. I think it's both the same thing of like they don't realize how much noise they're making and then something happens. In the game, it is so much more severe. The music is so much louder, and they are mid-dance when they are rushed by like a dozen people.
Yeah.
It is not they stop to investigate. They are dancing as our people are running by them. And it is so much scarier. It is so much scarier.
Sure.
But having it just be one person, that is venting, it just makes it more personal. And they have one person to deal with, and both these people are failing to do it. Yeah. So I like, again, either works for me, honestly. I think like this works. If you keep it small, you get to keep it like with the bites happening really quickly. They're not running to get the safety first. It is kind of just happening all at once in this little moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like they both work for me.
I think again, they both work for me, but I think they work in the context of their mediums.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like what they did in the game would have worked in the show as well. Because what I think the show's done really well is something that the game can't do because it's a video game, which is a single infected feels so much more dangerous. Yeah. And they just can't feel that dangerous in the game because you have to go through so many of them.
It's also I don't know if this one's technically a clicker, but he is so much more infected than this a runner is.
Yeah.
And it's mostly runners that you're fighting in the game.
Right.
It's just a bunch of runners. So like having it be like a super infected is potentially even worse because you can't take him down unless you actually like get to that head real quick.
Yeah.
Like you can't just stab him in the stomach. Like,
yeah.
But
I mean-
I like that because I do think it, especially because it comes when it does, it keeps it very intimate, very personal, like
Yes.
you said. I think for the context of the show and the episode that they crafted, it works better because even me, having played the DLC, but again, like not knowing if we were going to get back to the Halloween store, was once we see him, like, all right, so when's he coming? When's that one infected coming? And like that's enough.
Yeah,
there's enough there, which is also something you don't get in the game. Is you don't get the precursor. There's no reason that they would show you that in the game. You don't get like the early idea.
Yeah.
Hey, there's an infected.
Chekhov's
and then come back and the characters don't know that. So like it's a different kind of like the suspense of
it. Is a surprise in the game.
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
Right. And I think that it works so well here because the sense of tragedy.
Yeah.
Incoming tragedy weighs so much more on the scene as you're watching it.
Absolutely. Because you
know that guy is coming.
Yeah. And the second, again, anytime somebody gets happy in the show, something bad happens. So you're like, they just kissed. Oh, that guy's waking up. He's coming. He's showing up.
Yeah.
Can't all have Bill and Frank's ending.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. Yeah. Yeah. So Ellie and Riley both get bit. We saw this we saw like her scratching at it like in one of the trailers or like in the clips, but like seeing that like she is so powerful in that little moment. Her and Riley both. Riley's just like, well, I don't even know what to do. I've accepted it. And Ellie immediately goes into, I'm busting shit up because I am furious. I just got the girl and I'm going to die. This is some bullshit. And I just love that you can tell who these characters are just by looking at this moment of her smashing shit up. And Riley's just like, there's more shit over there to break if you want. And I'm like, man.
Straight from the game.
Yeah, it's so good.
And let's not forget the parallel to this guy's situation and Ellie's decision.
Who are we looking
Joel.
at? Who are we?
We're looking at Joel. It's right here.
Oh, for us, he's not. He's over here.
Oh my god.
Sorry, audio listeners.
Wait.
Joel
Oh no.
Miller, Papa Pedro.
Yeah,
that is bleeding.
No,
out.
it's true. And very much like you could say, the relationship dynamic can be different, but like this very much reminds us of Joel and Tommy. How different are they? Who are they as people? Like, how would Joel react? How would Tommy react? Maybe even more poignant is Joel and Tess.
Yeah.
Because how Tess accepted what happened and Joel didn't.
100%. Yeah. And I love again, it's just from the game. Like, hey, so we have a couple options. Like, we can kill ourselves, easy way out. Actually, no, that's a shitty option. I hate that option. We're just gonna survive as long as we can. 2 minutes, 2 days, whatever. Every minute with each other is better than nothing. And that's
we don't give that up.
We don't give that up. Yeah. And that is like the motivation of the past for the future of Ellie to help Joel. She's not leaving him behind. No one gets left behind. It's beautiful. It's so good.
Not again.
Not again.
Endure and survive.
Endure and survive.
No, I think it ties in very well to like where Ellie is in the context of the story at this moment in time of the thinking back to this moment and remembering how that was and like knowing that she went through that, knowing she still lost Riley, and went through that, and she
not
lived.
Just lost Riley. Probably had to be the one to kill her.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. And Bella, in an interview I watched, Bella Ramsey, like she very smartly said, like, the script didn't say whether I did or not. I have my own beliefs of whether I took Riley out, and it's up to you guys to decide because we don't show it. It's up to your interpretation. I think she thinks she did kill her. That's the feeling I got. Yeah, that's either way. It's really sad for that 14-year-old girl. Let me tell you, savior of the world.
But like putting that in the context of it and keeping in mind that she did go through that with Riley, that she did have the, we don't give up that time no matter what, and still had to lose Riley, whether she had to do the deed or not. And then still being in this moment and choosing that still, like, we don't give that up. Go through what you can. I mean, it's going to be heartbreak either way. Cause like if Joel died, it would be heartbreak. and then if she tried to stay and he still died, it would be heartbreak. But like,
Yeah.
gotta try.
You gotta try. This far in, you gotta try. Yeah.
Yeah, do everything.
Any
I was just gonna say, like, tying into the title of the episode. So who's the one who got left behind?
Yeah. I think this whole episode's done really well.
Yeah.
I really like the entire breakdown of their relationship. I think all the stuff about them challenging each other between their ideas of what good for like the QZ is, Fedra or Fireflies and all that plays in really well while their emotional stuff is.
Oh yeah, Ellie doesn't really know. I'm not going to call Ellie dumb, but like she doesn't know what she's talking about. Like she thinks that the Firefly are just.
Which Riley tells her more than once. Like you don't know everything.
Yeah, like and like not that being 16 makes you a genius, but she's a little bit older than Ellie. She has a little more life experience. You're like, yo, Ellie, you've lived in a QZ your whole life. Like you don't know what you're talking about.
And argue and you can argue that Ellie is privileged with knowledge that she'll thrive in the QZ.
Yeah.
Like whatever the society is, if it stays Fedra, she'll thrive.
It's true. Yeah.
She's not going to suffer in it.
It's a good point. Yeah.
And I think that's part of it too, is that kind of knowledge that, well, the system might be shitty, maybe, but if they're right and the system is shitty, at least you're on top.
Yeah. And I thought that was terrible.
Yeah. I did come across a talking point, just a little short clip review of this episode, and how throughout the series as well, whether it be indicative of the time period the apocalypse originated from, there is still a lot of heavy racism occurring, in the QZs and in whatever governing force is available. Because lo and behold, they're going to choose a person of color to guard the sewers. Henry and Sam are being chased out of town, for an execution by a bunch of freedom fighters. And and in the Bill and Frank episode, like the shot we have, who gets gunned down in the ditch, mostly families of color.
I mean, the first shot we see of that, of like the baby skull and the mom, that's a black family. Like, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. Not saying that that's what they're hammering forth, but it's something you can still believe occurring even today, as well as especially back then.
And yeah, and people in the apocalypse, they love to dig into the things they already believe. Just even worse. Again, like the next episode, there's a lot of that too. So like
certainly, I think there's some edge of like black racism that there's at least subtextually here, because you see more than one black person in the Firefly organization in the QZ for Boston. There's more than one.
I mean, so Marlene trying to help Riley. Like, I'm sure, like,
right. Yeah. Why does she pick Riley and why does she not pick? She says no to Ellie. Like, well, what's that about? But at the same time, like
a more exact reason later.
our principal character is not a white guy. So, like there's clearly like, it's not a hard set rule, but I'm sure you're right, Phai. Like it plays in probably just as much as racism plays into our systems today.
Yeah.
Probably a little more, frankly, but
yeah. We got any final
sure
thoughts?
Did seem like a lot of white people hunting Henry and Sam in that episode.
Yeah.
As well. So like,
I saw one Asian person Asian person in that group.
Yeah. I had something, but I really like the roof jumping, the roof jumping scene. I just wanted to go back. I just thought that looked really good.
It did. We flash forward to the present, and Ellie finds some needle and thread, some really thick needle and thread, and is able to stitch Joel up really, really well. Jesus, that was some thick thread.
A thought just occurred to me.
What?
Finding love in that environment is like finding needle in a haystack, but she found it anyways. I don't know if this is an intentional metaphor that they pulled off, but it just popped into my mind right now.
Sure.
I'll buy it. Hey, I'll buy it. That's pretty good.
I'll buy it for $500.
Yeah. Hey, art everything is interpretable, Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad point, Pi. Like, again, talking about, in the context, both of them having a fear of not just being like rejected for having feelings, but rejected because of who they have feelings for. That's definitely, I think, a present thing of like how unlikely would it be? Your odds are significantly slimmed down.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to episode 8. When we are in need.
Lord have mercy on these people.
The David episode.
How do we begin? How does this episode begin?
With the Lord.
In winter.
In
winter. Deep winter.
Too cold. You can't even bury bodies.
Joel
Sure.
is
Good excuse.
Joel is stitched up but not recovering.
That dude's in a mild coma.
He can't eat. He can't even drink water.
She's just like putting it on his lips, like, oh, poor girl, I'm trying.
Yeah, she's not a scientist, not a doctor.
No, it's true. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that later for sure. She's got to go find some food. Papa's got to eat. She's got to eat. Oh, little bits of beef jerky aren't going to be enough. So she takes the gun. Joel, be right back. Don't go anywhere. And then she takes. Oh, it's not Shimmer.
Oh, okay.
So
Alice.
It's Callus, because I listened to a podcast because we thought it was Shimmer who got shot. And I'm like, they wouldn't kill Shimmer pre-Last of Us 2? That's crazy. It was a different horse. So Shimmer, you're still alive. Thank you. Sorry, Callus.
I'm upset they didn't name the horse, though. That was kind of one of like the funniest bits for Joel in the game.
Yeah.
Is that it's like, Callus? What kind of a name is Callus? I hate that name.
Well, Joel can't do anything about it now because he's almost dead. But Ellie's going hunting. She finds a rabbit. She face plants trying to get to it. They shot in Alberta, Canada, where it was like literally -10 degrees. So all that, them being cold, it's real. They're really cold. They look cold. It looks awful. She finds a deer. She shoots it. Hell yeah, Ellie. You go find that deer. Other people find that deer first. Who are those people, Pi?
A friendly neighboring churchgoers. They're fine. Reasonable.
I want a church girl to go to church with and read the Bible. That's a vine. For all your
The
friends.
rabbit lives this time.
The rabbit does live this time. You're right. the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect of adaptations.
Oh, that's the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Boy howdy, y'all. David. He that guy, that actor playing David, Scott Shepherd, his name is so fucking good in this episode.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know if I've ever met a bigger creep in my life. Like I often don't like cringe in my seat, but like that dude was making me feel vile in a way that TV just. I watch a lot of gross shit. Like that dude was really unnerving me in a way that the game even wasn't able to do, because this is like real shit happening, and I'm like, man, this guy is so good at being fake daddy. He is your dad. He loves you. He'll slap you up, but he'll pick you right back up. He'll feed you every day. Three meals a day. Might be people. Man, Troy Baker's in this episode. That's pretty cool.
Buddy boy.
So they definitely feel like a group that made poor choices, right?
Yeah.
Like they found a space, a beautiful ski resort.
Yep.
In the spring.
In the spring without the cold. Yeah.
And they thought, what a great place.
We won.
Let's settle in. We've got it. And then the winter came.
Yeah.
And it turned out not so great to hold up all year when you don't have a backup of food supplies.
And before this, what David tells us is like they settle, raiders attack them, they move. Raiders attack them, they move. Like this
right,
is
so they kept getting pushed into this kind of boundary, and then they found this. And but again, like it definitely feels like a place they found when it wasn't winter.
Yeah.
And it was working out, and then it stopped working out.
Yeah. We definitely, I feel like if we would have met these people like 6 months ago, it would not nearly be the same situation. I feel like we meet them at like the lowest point where everyone is starving, people are missing, the dead are missing, you can't hunt, there's no deer anywhere, your friends are dying from random people with little girls out in the woods. You got to deal with that. Like we meet these people at the worst of the worst, and David, God bless him, he's doing his best. He's there for his people. He's a father. He will provide. And does he ever? Ugh, I hate him. He's so good.
The cult
When
of
you're
David.
in need.
Cultivate.
Yeah. No, the harsh winter and, compelling them to send out, as we later find out, 4 hunters, in which 3 only return. Where'd those hunters go? Sparkz, Ryan.
They went to go see what Joel and Ellie were up to is what they did.
They went to borrow a book from a university.
Maybe they would have learned how to. Maybe the guy Joel killed could have found the book on how to survive winter.
Man, so yeah, David and James, buddy boy, they meet Ellie. Ellie will give them half the deer if they return medicine for Joel for some random person. She doesn't say Joel. That's a good deal. James, go get the medicine. I'll hang out with Ellie while you go get that. So they sit down probably for like an hour. They're just talking. David, good conversationalist. He seems like a charming guy. He seems like like a decent dude, right? He's just talking to Ellie. Ellie slowly is starting to loosen up. The gun goes down. She's starting to answer his questions with other they're starting to have a rapport. Thank you. I don't use that word often. And then she's like, this isn't luck. Like, what do you mean? You feel lucky? He's like, well, everything does happen for a reason. Some of my friends got killed by a guy and a little girl. Isn't that crazy? And then the music changes and everybody freaks out and your heart goes cold. And then he's like, James, lower the gun. You're like, oh my God, this is so good. It's like, it does what the game did. But like Scott Shepherd is so scary. He's so scary. That smile he gives, like I told you, everything happens for a reason. It sent a chill down my spine. Love it. I love it. It's so good.
Sparkz, how did your wife and mother? Did you watch it with them?
Yeah, I did.
How'd they take it? The whole thing.
Just the whole thing. I mean, like, yeah, they were very disturbed by David.
Lots of ick, lots of ews.
Well, like, and I think the David stuff comes across so much more maliciously in the show. I think by nature of the game, at a certain point, David becomes exaggeratory.
Yeah.
Just because that's how games are. And here there's this intent that's so clear in the show that very quickly after they encounter Ellie and she's got the gun on them, before he sends James away or anything, David makes a decision about what he wants from Ellie.
Yes.
And I even posited, and they didn't bring this up on the episode at all. They had their own opinions on it, but I still hold to this, that when James takes out the horse and walks up on Ellie, and the 4 of them all kind of exchange a look about shooting her, I think it's more than just that they want to kill her because of what happened to their friend. They want to kill her to spare her from David.
So here's the thing. I loved that Reid until I listened to an interview with Troy Baker about it.
Yeah.
And I don't like his reading. His reading is he is David's number 2. He is his number 1 guy.
Yeah, it's in the podcast.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, it's in there.
He goes into it on different podcasts as well, but he views Ellie as a challenge to him. And even though he might not be on the up and up with David right now, because he doesn't believe as much, David is still that is his father. That is the guy who is keeping him alive and helping him. And he doesn't have anything else besides David. So if Ellie becomes his number 2, then James will go away is what Troy Baker feels. And I don't like that. I don't think it's because James definitely feels more conflicted in the show.
Yeah. I was going to say, all respect to Troy Baker. I don't think that's it
doesn't read that.
I don't think that's the read of James
yes.
I get from the episode, which is whatever Troy Baker was putting into it, the way they cut the episode
yes.
to show James makes it feel pointedly that James is questioning David. James is questioning this because James is the man. There are 2 men in this episode that we're following who clearly know that they are feeding the group people.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is really on board with it, and one of them is not. And the one that's not is James.
The other guy's name is Isaiah, big beard man. Yeah.
I actually just meant between James and David.
Oh,
And I was
sorry.
saying David is the one
Got
who's
it.
definitely all
I thought you
about
meant the
it.
guy who literally cut the people up and brought them.
No, I don't think Isaiah is cool with it either. I don't think anybody else who's aware, but like
Yeah.
we know James and David both know.
Yeah.
And it's something that there is very present on their minds.
Yeah.
Because we watch James when he watches the little girl eat her dad.
And he's like, oh.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, again, like with the Troy stuff, there is a lot of stuff that got cut of his material. Not like any of it's super important, but there was more stuff with him and David, and there was going to be a thing with him and Ellie that got cut. So like the read that this show is giving us, I think it's a better one that I think the show was going to give us.
This is the thing, like,
you know what I mean?
Like when the show is edited, it might not be what they initially set out to do with the writing or
Yes.
even with the acting.
Because I definitely prefer.
And I'm telling you, the read of James I got is a James who's
Not
pretty
into it.
uncomfortable with what David's doing and seems pretty aware what he's going to do to Ellie. And he's not so cool with it.
Until the end, when he's about to chop her up with David.
Yeah.
I wonder, see, that's like the conversation that got cut. Like, what was the conversation that they had where he's like, we have to go kill this little girl now? Because that's a conversation I feel
But I think even then when he's willing to kill her, that's the same, right? Like, because he's willing to shoot her.
Yeah.
This is also killing her. Like, David's gone straight to, let's kill her.
That's true.
And that's like,
That's
great.
true.
That is way better than what I was afraid was going to happen.
Being a little child bride.
Yes, exactly.
That's a good point. Yeah. I do like that read better. And I think Troy Baker, he's an incredible voice actor, but like that dude doesn't do a lot of actual acting. And it's like, that dude's got it. He is an actor. Voice acting is acting. That
Sure.
dude, he's incredible.
Like the entire franchise of The Last of Us, like these are Oscar-worthy actors and performances.
Yeah, 100%.
But they're not going to get noticed like that unless they get thrown into a movie.
Small parts, just small actors. I believe Abraham Lincoln said that. Before he.
You're quoting Master Chief.
Yeah, So let's see. Well, I'm trying to think what
we're kind of jumping all around.
Yeah.
I
want to do stuff. I want to talk about like the cage scene after, like, because I know there's stuff before that.
Sure,
but I don't remember what I'm trying to remember.
I think like on some level, Ellie. I can go with like Ellie's a kid and like okay. On some level, I'm like Ellie, you should have known they were gonna follow those tracks.
Oh
like,
yeah,
girl, get out in the snow and change those tracks. Hide those tracks.
Serpentine at least.
Yeah. I like seeing the horse in the garage. It reminds me of the horse in the mall.
Oh yeah,
in the shop.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute.
Medicine, being a scientist. My God, Ellie.
Penicillin.
Joel, where do I stick this thing? I guess just stick it right in the wound.
What else would you do?
No,
you don't know.
That's so, and it must have worked double time because it helped Joel clearly.
She's never seen a movie or a show where they gave someone medicine. She has very little context for understanding that.
And like the practical effect of like she actually jabbing a syringe into like a bloody
look.
wound.
We're just lucky that the option wasn't to just squirt it in his mouth.
Oh my
God.
like
Ellie made at least
open wide.
He was just gonna do like a Pulp Fiction and just go into his chest. Like, what do I do?
Oh man, that would have sucked. Like she had two places to put that
that
thing.
would have killed him.
Yeah, in the heart. Yeah, probably killed.
The abdomen or the butt.
But yeah, I love that where bad dudes are coming. They come back because did Ellie? Oh, Ellie didn't get away, or what was it?
She ran away.
That's right. She
ran away, and they follow her trail next day because he's like in the snow. It won't have cleared.
That's right.
That's why I'm like she needs to get out there with like one of them big old branches and just like hide those things.
That's right. So a bunch of more dudes come. Ellie hears a flock of birds, gets scared away, so she knows something's up. And then she sees a bunch of dudes coming, so she runs to Joel, gives him a knife. Joel, you kill these mother effers if they come inside.
Don't fall asleep, Joel.
Don't fall asleep. And Joel's just like,
Joel barely opening his eyes.
Yeah, cannot process what's happening. Opens the garage door, takes Callus and starts shooting them. Hey, mother effers! And just runs off. Love it. Joel just going, oh my God. No, what's happening? I hate this. Hearing that Ellie puts up like a dresser in front of the door, but a dude finds it and moves it to find Joel. And Joel's eyes just being like, "Oh my god, what do I do? Oh my god!" And then he goes down the stairs and you see Joel's gone.
The hell triangle.
I imagine Phai that like Joel was just like laying down and just did like a rolling, just like rolled over like 12 times, just like roll
until he can get something
Joel
to voice himself up.
Yeah,
Joel at 10% can take out 3 men at 100.
Oh my god.
No, they're not at 100. They're at least at 60.
Yeah,
no, come on, dude. They're running on man meat. They're doing okay.
They're the bigger the beard, the skinnier they are. That's generally how the apocalypse works here. Yeah, Joel gets that adrenaline up to 250%, and he's able to get a knife right in some dude's neck, and he dies smiling at Joel, which is probably one of the creepiest things I've ever seen in my life. Oh my gosh, the blood.
Was that a smile, or was that just kind of a rictus of like?
Yeah, I think that's just the way that he fell.
it was creepy and spooky.
Yeah,
looked like he was saying he was smiling his way out.
I really truly wanted Joel to just climb back into bed.
Yeah, it'd be so funny.
Got him. All right.
It wasn't me. The two guys.
I've got kneecaps to upset.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah. So I think his name's one of the guys, Timothy. Which, man, I hear Timothy, I'm like, no, you're not tough, Timothy. I'm sorry. I know something bad about having to do with Timothy. But I think his name's Marcos. I think is another guy. I don't remember. I think I saw his name in the credit. But like 2 dudes get whacked by Joel. They both get tied up. This is another thing straight from the game. Oh my god! But again, being it in real life, it's so much worse. Seeing that knife go into that dude's knee and him twist it. God, this violence is so visceral. It's so, I hate it, but I love it.
We get to see who Joel has been and how he has survived. Just being that asshole.
This is the like, I'm not gonna call it like the most interesting point like in the show because like lots of things happen, but like this is we use the word activated. Like at least I like Craig Mazin loves that word because he said it on multiple. He said it in the most recent podcast too. Yeah. And this is I love this moment because we are seeing Joel, who he has been the last 20 years, this murderer, this monster, but he's doing it now for love. And that is that's almost worse.
Well, because I think there's very much a reasonable argument to be made that like a Joel, even just before episode 6, who had not made the decision that Ellie was what he was living for, gets this wound and is like, he knows these guys are coming and just accepts his fate.
Yep.
And this Joel is living for Ellie. And this Joel he gets up and does all this because he cannot let Ellie go.
Yeah. But like, that means,
like
that means murder. When you don't
the stark difference, like you said, we're in during the time leading up till now, he is fighting as a person who has already lost everything, but now he once again has everything to lose, and he will be that much more brutal.
Yeah,
the morning where he stayed at the stables with the horse, and he made the choice then that this is the life he's going to lead is a life with Ellie in it. And
it's like, again, like I remember it like being so brutal in the show or in the game, but like the thing, and there's The Last of Us like HBO podcast, but there's also like a YouTube the creator on creator making The Last of Us like different podcasts that they're doing, right? It's like a 3-part thing. And they talk about violence and how basically every 5 minutes in the game you're shooting someone. So no matter how brutal the things Joel is doing to other people, you are doing that to hundreds of other people in the game as well. So it lessens it a little bit by taking away the dozens of hours of random murder and just focusing on like he like only murdering a couple times. It can become so much more like visceral and effective as opposed to like this is the 300th person I've killed. Like I don't feel as bad. Seeing Joel kill the guy with the pipe, that like devastated me. And I already know like where this character in the show is going and stuff, but I'm like, you don't have to be like this, Joel. You don't have to be a monster, but like he feels it is the only way to save his little girl. And it's really sad because he's a monster. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. No matter how good you are, you murder people, you're a bad guy, man. Like,
what did Tommy say?
about the show.
There were other ways they could have handled it. They just weren't good at them.
Yeah, Timothy Marcos is like, why did you do that? You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to kill him. And he's like, yeah, I know. Man, Joel sucks.
But the thing is,
like the best way. Like
the thing is also like we haven't seen it as much in the show, but we know it's there, and like it's definitely like it was there with like Kathleen and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But we know it exists from the context of the game. Is that like Joel is bad for doing these things and all that, but like, is Joel totally wrong that if he gives them even an inch, they'll kill him?
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
Even before he would do anything else, you know, like importantly, when Joel gets stabbed in episode 6, they were just trying to leave, you know?
Yeah.
It's the 4 people who rush them.
It's true. Yeah.
Like if they just let them be, then one of them wouldn't be dead.
It's true.
And now being fed to his daughter.
No, it's true. I'm just saying that dude is tied up.
Yeah.
That dude's not going anywhere.
For sure.
Like, and it's like it's the way that Joel does it. He's like, what do you say? Like, I'm not gonna tell you shit. And Joel's like, I know, I believed your friend. Like Joel
told
like,
you the truth. I believed him.
Yeah, like Joel like wants to do this. Like Joel wants to do this, and that's like, again, even if they're bad guys, like man, like this is a bad path. This is not a good path.
It's also, I think that Joel wants to do this if he has reason.
Yeah.
In his mind, like reason, right? Because we also we have the sniper.
Yeah.
The old man. He didn't want to kill him.
Yes.
Not at all.
I think this is a different Joel
and
now, though. This is an activated Joel now, though.
Yeah, activate. This is the Joel who has everything to lose.
Yeah.
And will do everything to get it back.
Yeah, he's got to be efficient. He's got to make sure he's going to the right place where Ellie is. He doesn't have time to screw around.
No, it's true. Man, and I'm just thinking of the next episode. I'm like, oh man, they have weaved so perfectly to this finale of like who both these characters need to be for this finale. It's so great. So yeah, people are getting fed. People, it's awful. Definitely venison. I love that. As they're about to start eating people, David comes in with a big ass deer. He's like, I guess I'm late. Oops. I think that's great. Yeah, Ellie gets thrown into a cage. She gets captured, thrown into a cage. Finds an ear. Who just leaves an ear on the ground? What are we doing? Why are you cutting off ears? What's going on here? Well, I guess you got to shave to get the meat. I don't know. It's all awful. Is what I'm saying here.
It's just raw cartilage. Good for soups, though.
Good for that. There you go. I didn't think about that. Nice miso soup. Man, this scene again, like basically word for word, except some additional dialogue added. You got a violent heart, which is just like, hey, here's more Last of Us 2 set up. More Last of Us 2 set up because, yo, Ellie, you're violent. Why are you so violent?
But I think it does make David more sinister for
liking it and wanting
for this, you know, I see something in you you're not even seeing.
Yeah.
And it's the thing I want.
Ugh.
It's the reason I want you. And like that David, you know, like in this context rather than in the context of the game, like we know David isn't wrong. That there is something here that he's seeing that is accurate.
Yeah.
Even as like, you know, Ellie is a better person than David. Ellie does have the violent heart that he does.
And it is so wild. Like it's been 20 years in the apocalypse, right? Like David calls his entire group. Let's just say he has 100 people. Like he has 100 people and they're all sheep. But this 14-year-old girl is like, this is the one right here. This is the one. I'm like, oh man, how far have we gone? It's the apocalypse, all right. Child bride and all. I have never had an equal like you before. You know, you're so smart, and I see so much of you, and I'm like, this is grooming 24 hours. Man, this is awful. It is so gross. Again, I think it is so much more effective than the game. Just because like that actor is like not Nolan North is David in the game. He's killing in the game, but like there's just something about this David that's just like really raw. That's just like extra gross that like I just appreciate because like it's you don't get to see like this type of grossness in a show sometimes. I'm like, man, your resume is popping off now, baby. I was David.
He talks with a lot more like like an outward confidence, whereas Nolan North's David he's a little sly, a little tricky.
You're right. You're 100% right. Yeah, he's a little more sly. Yeah.
I think part of what makes the show David so effective to me is this way that he presents initially, like, this all happened. Like, I wasn't a man of faith before, and then and then like that happened after.
Teacher to
and
preacher.
and that the implication is I found God. And when he's talking to Ellie later, he says, "No, I found the cordyceps."
Oh, I love that. I love that change.
I saw what they did, and they used violence to bind themselves into a greater being.
Yeah.
And
they do through love,
keep themselves all together, and
Yeah.
that's love. And I realized that that's what I want.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. And that's so sick.
Yeah. And again, Bella Ramsey is so good because David's like, like we could build something together, Ellie, and she's like, "Oh, you're a pedophile. Oh, I see what's happening here." It's such a good moment, and they slowly start coming together. I'm like, I remember what happens there, and man, she breaks his effing fingers. It's so good. What
the way she holds out on telling her name until that beat.
What was it? Little bits and
tell
little bits and pieces.
Tiny little pieces.
But yeah, the line you're about to say, probably like the coolest line of the show, maybe. Like in terms of being like, this isn't like a badass John Wick show, but when I think of like the iconic lines of like, tell him Ellie's the little girl that broke your fucking finger as she's screaming it. That's like iconic, dude. Like that is like nominated for an Oscar. And this is the line that they show, like one of those, like, it's so good. She is so good in that moment. And then James comes to chop her up in little bits and pieces. Goodness gracious. I forgot how quick it's just going to happen. I'm like, oh man.
Well, we got to move fast too, because like we are compiling a lot into this episode. This is definitely one where I'll admit, like, this is one where I thought I could have done 15 more minutes of this.
Yeah,
I could have done 15 more minutes of some of the stuff that we're not bringing to the table from the game. Even if it's like some of the slower build up stuff earlier on.
Yeah.
Of the group and everything. That's not to say that this is bad.
No, of course. The thing about I do wish this episode was longer, or even like they make it a 2-parter and have this be 10 episodes or whatever, because like I think there's enough to chew on. But the stuff they cut from the game is mostly Ellie just killing a bunch of random dudes escaping from David. Like that's what you do that for like 25 minutes in a snowstorm, and you're cutting between Joel and Ellie back and forth. And I think the show's version of it, while condensed, is a better version of that, because it just lets you focus on the one thing instead of cutting to Ellie and then something happens, then you cut back to Joel, and then you do 5 minutes of gameplay and you go back to Ellie, and I'm like, this just felt more just like streamlined for me.
Mm-hmm. I do want to touch on, like, I notice a lot of people are complaining that this isn't feeling much like an apocalypse because of the lack of infected in these last couple episodes.
Sure,
but I feel like they've been doing a good job, at least doing like infected, not infected, infected, not infected features, and like not in necessarily in a perfect what's the word, like switching.
Yeah.
But it's still a dangerous environment because of the survivors as well.
Oh,
and the elements.
Also, I forgot. There's a section where you fight a bunch of runners and a bloater with David as Ellie in the winter. So they cut that scene too. And honestly, again, you don't need that. Like the scene them talking to each other is all I really needed for them to bond, right? Like I don't need them bonding over murder. Although now that I think about that,
here's what I'll say.
Now that I think about that,
here's what I'll say. Part of the reason why I thought of that in particular, the fact, like, I didn't need them necessarily to fight a bloater, but the idea of them surviving through infected together as a way that like bonds them.
That could have been
both
good,
because it is able to showcase their tendency to violence.
Yes,
for both of them. It also runs against Joel's ideology about people in the world and what Ellie's learned from him. It's part of why it works in the game, because when you first meet David is like the antithesis of every other person that was outside of Jackson that we've encountered up to that point.
Yeah.
Who would shoot you on sight.
Yes.
And wants to steal your shit. And David feels like he's different from that until the fireplace moment where it becomes more sinister and the revelation of who he is. But it lulls you into that false sense of security, but also like gives you this idea of maybe, even especially for Ellie, like maybe Joel's wrong.
That's a good
about
point.
how people are.
Yeah.
And I think that could have benefited here.
Because go ahead. No, go ahead, Phai.
Okay. I was gonna say, like, in the show, we get to see a David, where a relationship between Ellie and David where it's not necessarily made through violence, but he does talk to her. He is honest with her for those moments, and that's why she drops her guard.
Mhm.
In the game, her guard is always up, but like David tips his hand almost a little bit too early out of necessity because of the infected, in which Ellie had already believed that he had given up all of his weapons, and then he pulls out a secret gun.
That's right.
And so it's like, oh, this guy can lie really well. He's always had the upper hand, so it has that. It still adds that like subtle level of fear, but then they fight, and it's like, oh no, we're cool. Now we're thinking you just had it to you just needed that to survive. We get it. Everyone does that. It's kill or be killed out here.
Yeah, that actually could have. It didn't have to be like a giant action scene, but yeah, that actually would have added to some.
You just throw a couple of infected at them.
That's a good point. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that could have added something, and I think that's probably like if I were to put something in, it would be in that area because it's. I think that there was just a little bit more of how we could have built the turn with David, but I'm still happy with the episode overall. I really am.
I am too.
But I just think that David feels so monumental in my memory of like what's so impactful about the show. Druckmann was talking about it on the official podcast, saying like when they were crafting the game, like a part of the pitch of the story was this idea of, well, specifically like this idea of being Joel, and then in the third act being turned to Ellie, being turned to the girl that was being protected, and having to play her through this fight with this disgusting man. And that if that didn't work, then the whole thing didn't work.
Yeah.
And I think that because it's such a big part of why the game is so impactful, is this whole David section. I think they could have given a little more to it, but I still like what we got.
In fact,
and then real quick, going back to what Phai was bringing up earlier, like people complaining about the lack of infected in the show. I still go back to what I was kind of talking about earlier with like going down to just one for the previous episode, is that I think the show's context works much better because when an infected shows up, it feels significant and impactful and scary.
Yeah.
And I think if we were just bombarded with them, then this would just be The Walking Dead. And I don't want this to be The Walking Dead.
100%. Yeah.
Exactly. And again, they're still neglecting to acknowledge that there are other dangers besides infected.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah. I absolutely love the way that they crafted like the final battle between Ellie and David. Like, it definitely makes like a little more sense in the show because Ellie throws that thing. She throws the thing to catch the thing on fire, and David has like 4 double takes of like, should I do something about it? But I really want to kill this little girl. But the thing is, but Ellie's all right on it. I love that where he keeps going farther, checking. Nah, it's not worth it. I love that. In the game, it's just kind of like she throws it, and David's just like, Ellie, where you at, Ellie? Like I don't remember it being as like subtle.
Oh, is this place on fire?
Yeah. Like,
I didn't notice, Ellie.
Yeah, like
actually, I think David lights the fire in the game.
Does he?
I could be remembering that wrong.
I could have basically almost like the same thing. But I only played Left Behind. I didn't play further. But I regardless, I feel the way he handles the fire in this was really funny. And it's again like he kept checking of like, am I gonna do something about this? Nah, I got murder on the mind.
Yeah.
I love the way that like that boss battle of you like scurrying around, to get behind him, stab in the back like 3 times like a boss. Like that is basically what this has turned into. Like she's scurrying around to try to get behind him, to give him a little shank. I love it. But the thing I love the most is just how insecure this man is, because Ellie's not saying a word and he's just hunting her down as the place just erupts into flames. And the funniest line I've ever heard, "You don't know how good I am." You don't know how good I am, Ellie. Let me love you, Ellie.
Nice guys in the apocalypse.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like,
You said it while we were watching it. Like he's so incel,
the ultimate incel,
like the ultimate incel. And I really love. What I also like is we didn't talk about it yet, but the way she plays the infection card is really good. I'm infected, and it throws them off and gives her our opportunity and all that, which is
James.
great.
Yeah,
but like,
she killed Joel.
Jesus, Joel.
But what I really like about that is what it leads to here in the burning inferno is where he says, "So you made that up, or are you just that fucking special?"
Yeah. Yeah. He is,
and he like hates that notion that she might be.
Yeah. And the place is burning down. Like he is so dead set on this. He's like, all right, like cards are all out. There's no turning back from this. All right, Ellie, I'm not going to kill you anymore. I'm going to train you. You're going to be my child bride. Yeah. He's just doubling down on...
He wants to possess her.
He wants... Yeah, like, he finally has someone who's, like, a challenge, and, like, he, like, likes that, and that's awful. Because everyone else is a sheep to him.
His favorite part is the fight.
His favorite part is the fight. Oh, my God. Horrible. The way... Phai, remind me, doesn't Joel come and help out? It's not the same as the show, correct?
Yeah, the moment where Joel finally reunites with Ellie is as she's finally, she gets the upper hand on David, grabs the cleaver, in the game it's the machete, doesn't matter, wherever it's tossed, and just fucking goes ham at him. And Joel is able to burst through the door that's supposed to be locked by David. And kind of pulls Ellie out of that rage fever. But now in the show we get a different scene where Ellie has already taken the upper hand. She gets the keys from David, and she is the one who lets herself out. But she is still in a very raw place, and right. Joel may not have been able to save her physically. Is able to give her that moment where I can drop it. I can relax, even if it's just for a moment, because you're the only person I want to see right
now. Baby girl.
And then he says,
baby girl.
I wanted to cry, Phai. Oh my God.
I do think it works better, especially for like the context of the show, but just in general, I think it does work better to have Ellie out on her own and then Joel finds her.
Yeah.
They talked about this on the official podcast. They were like, there were a lot of reasons why we were like, this just doesn't make a lot of sense to do it this way for the show. One of them being like, how does Joel get in the building? And things like that. And I'm like, yeah, for real.
I'm sure he could kick it in, but
I will say another note of something that doesn't quite work for me about this episode. And it's in a less good show, it would be a serious asterisk not so good note from me, but here it's just it's a thing, but I'm fine. The whole group just disappears. It just boils down to James and David, and then once we get to the David fight, everybody's just gone. We have no context of where these people have disappeared to. That they're not coming around to help, they're not around at all. Just total absence. To the level where I'll make a comparison of way
Avatar. I knew it.
Avatar.
Oh, what happened?
Where if you haven't seen the film, there's this point in the last fight of it where the entire tribe that's winning just decides to go home.
They just leave.
And this kind of.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah, they the big battle. Why did all those people leave?
Maybe because they thought they already won, and now it was just a petty fight between these two.
For sure. This is not about that, but it does kind of remind me of it where we just kind of forgot about the people.
Yeah.
And again, a less good show would bother me more here. I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's not really about that, but I do kind of go, what did happen to them?
Here's why it didn't bother me, because the episode almost immediately ends after the confrontation with David.
Yeah.
So we would need to add more time to it.
No, absolutely.
I personally don't have a problem with that, because they probably know 1 minute later they're all coming to go look at that fire. But
it's for sure.
I see what you mean, but there wasn't another 10 minutes of them in the town or anything. It was
It's not about like, oh, it's important to see these characters or anything like that. It is more just a like, so there's just no one else in this building, and there's nobody else nearby coming in to check in
the Lock Steakhouse
on David or anything like that.
That's not where they stay. That's where they hold church and have meals. Because I think there's more areas in the town, and then
you're right. Except again, like not a town. It's a series. It's a ski resort. So it's a series of like lodge buildings that are nearby. Sure. Here's my thing. Like it would have worked better for me if this were like the next morning or something, right? This is still the same day.
Oh,
you know, this is the day where Joel got up and stabbed the men who were in the houses, and he got here.
Timothy.
This is the same day. So like these people are awake. They're not like in bed or just waking up or something like that. And that's the part where I'm like,
but they wouldn't be at the church until probably the evening is probably when they would gather there. That's kind of what I'm getting at. But they could have I agree they could have conveyed more of like, where are they?
Also, James is not David's only dude. Like we mentioned, like Isaac, who brings out this guy's not in the building or anything like that. And
yeah,
I think there were only 4 guys that were searching the town, and I'm not sure if Joel got them all. I'll have to rewatch it.
3 left in the town.
Yeah, there's 3.
And 2 leave with David to haul the horse. So there's at least 1 dude who would be back. It's not important. It's just a thing of like, I think it's fine. It is like a total absence is like, oh, okay, sure. Convenient. It works.
Yeah.
It's not about them, so it's fine. It's plausible, but it's a little slim.
Baby girl.
Oh, baby.
Yeah. Oh, baby.
Oh, excuse
1
me.
episode left.
I'm
You dying?
I'm pretty confident that yes, I am. Well, aren't we all? You know,
True.
we're all headed to that same destination, and some of us
just get there
behind.
Oh, true. Silver Lake
before us. Anyways, oh my gosh, my train of thought just came and went.
Choo train.
It'll come back. You guys go.
Oh my gosh, where am I going? We're going to Boston.
They're really great. They're really great performances.
I remembered.
I'll say that.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, I'm not worried about the time left that they have to finish the story.
Oh yeah,
because I think we only need, or we'll get into spoilers later, but like I'm just gonna say we need only like a few key moments, and I'll define them later.
Yeah, I'm sure the finale will be at least, you know, an hour like all the other ones, if not a little bit more. But like again, you cut out all the gameplay as it's been doing, then like all the big story stuff is gonna be there.
I mean, now that we're here, I'll say like when we were earlier in the season, and I was saying I was nervous about doing the entire game in 9 episodes. This was one of the things I was nervous for, was this section, like going through this a little too quickly, which I would again still argue maybe we did just a little bit with David, and that it could, because we knew this episode wasn't a long one. And if I'd known like this episode was like Bill and Frank's episode length, I would be like, that's probably good.
Yeah.
It could have used 50 more minutes, in my opinion.
I wish every episode were an hour and a half, but HBO, sorry,
it's a series of movies of the entire Last of Us game. That's what they've always needed all along.
Break the rules. I don't care. 3-hour episodes.
But nonetheless, I think this episode's full of, you know, great performances.
Yeah.
I think they really nailed David for the show, regardless of like the amount of time we have with him. I think he's perfect. I think Bella Ramsey is perfect, more than perfect in this episode, especially. And I'm thrilled. I'm just thrilled that it's all still fantastic.
Yeah.
Bella is Ellie. Belly.
I don't think I missed anything that I want to talk about in this episode. I loved it though. I love when gross men get their comeuppance. It's great, especially when they get machete 22 times in the face.
I don't
cleaver.
Like
sorry,
they get clean. They get clean
scars.
Yeah. All right. So I do believe that'll be the end of the regular television talk. Friends?
Yep, that'll do it.
So hey, if you're watching this, thank you so much for watching. The camera's right here. Thank you so much for watching. We're gonna talk about video game shit now. So if you haven't played the video game, don't watch this unless you just want to be spoiled.
See you next time.
See you next time. Don't
For
get
the finale.
Don't get spoiled. You've made it all this
You've made
far.
it this far.
Yeah. So
Just a little more to
thanks
go.
for stopping by. Time to talk about video game stuff. Yo, man, I am so excited for that finale now. Holy shit. Knowing that Joel is in activation mode, seeing the clips from the next on of like him roaming the hallways, knowing he's about to shoot a bunch of fireflies. Shit, man. The thing so obviously the infected, like they've taken out so many zombies. How many people is Joel going to kill in this hospital?
20.
I think it's going to be a lot. I think they're going to go hard on Joel being a bad man. I think they really are going to go for it for The Last of Us 2 as well to make that.
I think he's going to kill 20, and I'm going to say at least 2 are unarmed.
Oh, we know the doctors are all unarmed.
Yeah,
except for the one. He just has a scalpel.
If the writers really want to prime the audience for a season 2, they have to make that whole scene fucking like show like, no, this is consequential.
I am just thinking about it and it's like breaking my heart. Just like, because I know how much that game made me feel like that. I'm like, I can't, Pedro doing this. I can't handle it, dude. I'm not going to be able to handle it.
Which again is like important in the context of there were other ways to take Ellie away from here, and Joel chose this one.
Yes, that's exactly. Again, going back to the thing of like, those might have been bad men who like, if they get killed, that's fine. But like, Joel is in a mode to be like, I'm just gonna kill. That's just what I'm going to do. And I don't need to save your life. It's not important to me. And I'm like, man, I am so excited. I feel like this next episode, real quick, this next episode is going to be like a Game of Thrones episode for people, like a Red Wedding episode where people do not know what's about to happen. Like I think our couch is going to go. It's going to go crazy, dude.
So here's the thing. I know.
Some people know stuff.
I know my sister-in-law knows the ending.
Yes.
And so she might not know all the context fully of that, but she knows what the ending is.
Yeah.
But my wife and my mother do not. And I'm really excited to have it happen and talk about the ending.
Excited for the internet to because everyone's on Daddy Pedro train, especially with Mandalorian being back. Oh my god, double daddies? Not next week. Oh man, I'm so excited.
You could still admire Pedro and
from a distance
want him as a daddy.
That's true. Behind bars, maybe.
Pedro, not Joel. Pedro.
No, sorry. They're the same.
They're not.
Yeah. All right, so we know Marlene's coming back.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, giraffes.
Oh, yes, exactly. That's one of the beats that has to be hit, where they get a moment of. Okay, so back in episode 3, they featured the soundtrack that plays when Joel and Ellie encounter giraffes,
right?
And they occasionally replay that music throughout the series, and we only hear it that one time in the game, and I'm like, oh no. What does this music represent? And I'm tangenting here. That music represents a moment of beauty in a harsh world.
Right.
That's kind of what it's. Anytime that music comes on, I think you hear it in the Left Behind episode too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You like, and then it plays when Bill and Frank are, wheeling into the bedroom for the last time. Because it's a beautiful moment, but it's a little sad.
I think because we see again, in the next on Last of Us, like Ellie says, like we have to go through this all the way or whatever. I think that's like after the giraffe scene, isn't it? Where like they're like we have to. Yeah,
I think the giraffe scene will be, if it's not the first scene of the episode, it's after whatever the cold open is.
Man, I'm so thrilled. I can't believe we're here.
Some people think we're gonna see Ellie's mom in a cold.
Oh yeah, Ashley Johnson. She's getting bladed.
Nommed. So I have speculative story structure of how this episode is going to play out. It could be with the cold open flashback of Ellie's mom, going to be played by Ashley Johnson, original voice actor, mocap actor for Ellie. It could open with that, but I'm thinking it could open with Joel and Ellie. Ellie would be a little retrospective, playing with her scar, her bite mark, thinking like, what's this all going to be for? It all has to be for something. She's probably thinking about Riley and probably thinking about caving in David's face. Just, it's been a lot. Sam, Henry, it's been a lot.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so it'll go with that. We'll get the moment with the giraffes. And then I think we're finally going to get the swimming accident where she almost drowns. And then they'll get found by the fireflies. Joel gets knocked out. And I think that's when we're going to get the flashback. Because I think it's also going to be a partial Marlene backstory as well. Because I'm pretty sure Marlene was friends with Ellie's mom.
She does say that she put Ellie into the place when she was a kid. So yeah,
I think you're right that it's supposed to like fill in Marlene backstory and all that, and I think that's going to be like an important connective piece. I still think it's probably going to be the cold open, personally, only because I don't think it fits in the flow of the story unless we're going to focus on Marlene after, like, for what you just speculated, right? Like after Joel is knocked out, then you'd have to come back on Marlene from rather than coming back on Joel.
I got it. Okay. It's
let me hear
it. So Ashley Johnson, she's pregnant. She gets bit by an infected. She has the baby. The baby is free from the infection, right? That will lead directly into like her like going into surgery of like, this is the reason you were born. Here's the reason you were going to die. Basically, type of thing.
If she gives Ellie that chance to make that choice, which
I mean, she does. I mean, I don't think she will. I think it'll be just like the game where like she'll get knocked out or whatever happens. What I mean is like I think we will see like the beginning of Ellie's life and then what would be the end of Ellie's life potentially is like the what I'm feeling. But like it is I think it is probably easier to have it in the cold open. But like
it could also be interspliced. It could also be hybrid. Sorry.
That's true. It could be. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
The show's kind of stayed away from doing that. I don't think they'll start doing it now.
That's true.
I think that the show has set itself up to really enjoy its cold opens, starting things either in the present then going to the past or vice versa. And I think that this isn't going to be any different. I think that if we're going to do something in the past and it's going to be brief, then it's probably at the beginning.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because that just has been the flow of the show. And I don't think they're going to buck that now. For context, is the mom thing something from the second game?
No.
Okay.
That's just new.
Okay.
It might be full original.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all new, baby. Good for you, Troy and Ashley. Getting work. Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, and Tommy and Marlene. They're all here. What are we talking about?
Yeah, the whole ensemble is gonna get ganked.
Yeah, it's true. They're all.
Do you think the end of the episode will be the same shot as the end of the game?
It has to be. Okay, has to be the last thing said in the show. It 100% has to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is like the ultimate cliffhanger. Like, okay, I guess I believe you.
Yeah.
And then we got to wait 2 years to find out.
I hope so.
They're writing that season right now. So like
because there's a part of me that wants to go back to Jackson and see Tommy again. Before the season is over. But I'm like, I just don't want you to change that ending.
No, it has to be like them like overlooking where they're going to be living the next 5 years or whatever. And then they have the conversation. I think that has to be it. Oh, it's so powerful. You can't you got to do that. Oof. Mm-hmm. I'm getting chills thinking about it. Love it.
One last thing. And this next like potential scene in the episode is purely speculative, or it's like I want it. So they established pretty early in the beginning that that Joel takes pills as well as distributes them. I'm wondering if they will again, this could never happen and I'll be entirely happy with it not happening. But like, what if they had a scene where, Joel, now figuring out that they're going to kill Ellie to make this cure, starts to have a panic attack, can't calm down, finds pills and just downs them, and then he's like just calm and ready to like gun everything down.
I thought I thought we were gonna go like he has a panic attack and the only way to cure it is by murdering 20 people.
No. I'm thinking he's trying to self-medicate to calm himself down and have no weapon sway.
No, because I don't think they'll want to. Not that it's taking away his agency, but like they're gonna want Joel. Like Joel knows exactly what he's doing. Like there isn't any like he's on a mission. Like I don't think they're gonna like make him like feel bad about it or like any like he's hunting down those hallways in that trailer, man. He's like he's a predator.
I'm not denying that he is fully cognizant of what he's doing.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying like it would be interesting to just add that small detail, both as a nod to the game and in reference of events past.
Yeah. That bringing back that panic attack thing.
Because he's got exactly panic attack. Established that he does take pills if he could take pills to settle his nerves.
Man,
kill a lot of people.
Because you haven't beaten the game, but I don't think this is a spoiler to say. I wonder for two. I wonder if they will cast a famous actor as the Doctor.
That has potential.
Because like statute of limitations, the Doctor shows up is like he's a character. You see his past.
Okay.
So like I'm curious if like, wow, why is Jake Gyllenhaal in this 1 minute scene? Oh, it's because he's in the Last of Us season 2. Oh, just some acting. He was the first actor I thought of. But I'm like, because that is a person who shows up again that we learn more about. I'm curious if we will get like, oh my God, is
Jason Sudeikis? What are you doing
here?
Yeah,
like what? John Goodman?
Wow, oh my God! If it's Jason Sudeikis, I will lose my shit. That actually kind of fits.
That would be good.
It's funny because I thought of Jason Sudeikis because I was thinking of like who's like within the wheelhouse of what's reasonable, like comparable to Nick Offerman.
Oh yeah,
as an appearance level.
Yeah.
And I thought of Last Man on Earth, where Jason Sudeikis like suddenly shows up and you realize he's Will Forte's brother. Yeah, in space. And I was like, wait, what?
Second Apocalypse debut.
Man, yeah. So next episode for sure, it's gonna be a spicy one. I'm so excited to see people react to it. Again, like it's gonna be a good time on the internet. People are gonna be real sad. I think. I'm just so excited. What's up, face?
What if they actually don't have the mayhem? What if it's like completely cut, but like we get like the beats of the conversational beats of Marlene talking to him beforehand. Him, going through that comprehension, little flashes of the gun, but then we cut to the car.
I'll tell you what.
And then it's kind of implied, and then we get like a flashback in season 2 of that whole event.
I think artistically that could work, but having already seen several scenes from the next episode, I don't think that's happening. I think we're just getting Joel's gonna murder a bunch of people. And I honestly think for the show, as cool as like that artistic version might be, I think for what this show is, you need to see him kill people.
No, because like I still want to look at season 1 as the same way I looked at the first game, which is like a full story.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't get season 2, I got everything I needed out of season 1.
That's a good point. Because what if you never watched season 2 then?
And I still want that to be there. Because I don't think that it has the same impact for the story they told this season.
I think you need
you're right. We don't necessarily need to see the brutality, but I think what we do need to see is the visual of Joel carrying Ellie, not dissimilar to how he carried Sarah.
Sure.
I definitely have.
I think you need that, but I agree with Ryan, like not necessarily like brutality, but I think you need violence. I think
violence.
Because
we'll get that with Marlene.
Huh?
Well, yes, you're right. We do need the violence. I'm not sure to what level they will show it in the show, but I think you can show a few key moments. But then the most important one is when he kills Marlene.
Oh, there is the moment where he has a gun to some guy's gut, and he's like, "Where is she?" And he's like, I don't have time for this. And he shoots him.
That could
And
be
then
one of
he-
the key
and then-
moments.
And then he shoots him in the head after he gets told the answer. So like, you could reduce the amount of violence, but I do think you need to see Joel be a bad person in here. You need to see him kill people for it to have the effect. Season 1, Season 2, like all the shit that Season 2 happens is because of what Joel does here.
Not only that, but like it's the point of the arc of everything that's been going on in the season of like people, it's Maria talking about what kind of person Joel is. It's Ellie looking at Joel's violence from that first day and like who is Joel to her and who is Joel inside and who does Joel choose to be.
Yeah.
Like all of those things play into that. And this is that like might makes right thinking that Joel is prone to.
Yeah.
And I think you do need to display it. This is the finale. I think that is part of the point.
Yeah.
Especially for an audience that's going to bitch about a lack of infected. I think you need to show them that one of the monsters is Joel.
Yeah. And this is an I Am Legend situation where we are the monsters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man,
I've been thinking about what Phai said about like taking the pills and everything.
Yeah.
Like ever since he said it. So like I've been kind of like mulling it over in my head ever since he said it. And I think I don't want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, it was purely just contrived.
I think part of it is that like any media representation of like exaggeration, whether it's positive or negative on how medicine or pills affect people, I think is always getting more and more dangerous with the way that we portray it. I went to the mat over this on when we talked about Joker.
Yeah.
Because I had a big problem with how they tossed around the idea of what pills did or did not do.
Yeah.
And I land the same here where like I think anytime it gets a little too exaggeratory where it's just like it's functioning as like a MacGuffin's not the right word, but simply as like a
video game power up,
as a plot device thing rather than as what it is.
Yeah.
I don't think it belongs.
You mean like when you take 2 pills and you don't instantly just feel it and you're like instantly high? That's not how all pills work.
Right.
It's not instant.
You get what I mean.
No, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
I do believe that'll be the end.
That'll be the last of this episode for The Last of Us.
Man, I am so pumped to talk about next week's episode.
Yeah.
Hot dog.
One more.
Wait, what's today?
Today's
Thursday.
Thursday.
I'm talking about it like I'm not going to watch next week's episode. I'm watching that in just a couple days. I'm thrilled. I'm so excited. It's only a couple days away.
3 more
It's
days.
gonna be a hard one not to watch live.
Yeah.
I know we won't be, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard.
Yeah. But that's okay. It'll still be there forever unless HBO takes it off like Westworld. Well, I do believe that will be the end of this Fake Nerds Watch.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you stuck around to talk about the video game stuff, thank you so much. How do we end this show?
Do you want me to do this? Okay.
Yeah, you do it.
All right, so we're part of the Fake Nerd Network. You can check out all the shows here on the YouTube channel. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a sister Fake Nerds Watch series going on right now about Picard, and very soon, pretty much right after The Last of Us is done, we're actually going to switch over to Mando,
Yeah.
where we'll be talking with our good friends. Our good friends and co-hosts on the Fake Nerd Podcast, Ben and Brandon,
Yep.
about The Mandalorian, and we'll be doing that in some amount of chunks. We haven't broken them all down, but certainly the first one is 3.
Because I personally don't feel like there's enough to talk about in that first episode. It's not The Last of Us. Let me say that.
So we'll be talking about The Mandalorian, so go check that out. We've talked about all the previous Mandalorian and Boba Fett
All the Star Wars
material, so that's all there. And then on Fake Nerd Podcast, you weren't there and I wasn't there, but they talked about Cocaine Bear, and then just before that, you talked about We Have a Ghost with Them.
We have a ghost.
And then coming up, we're finally talking about Screevy or Scream 6, which is coming out this weekend.
So excited.
So
I will be
excited
seeing
for
that next week.
Excellent. So we'll be talking about Scream, and we've talked about all the previous Screams. That's here on the YouTube channel, so you can check those out under the Cinephile banner. There's an animation station I did with this guy about Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, which is a fantastic show. There's an animation station I did with Ben about Sonic Prime, which is a show. And you can check those out right here on the YouTube channel. And I think that's all the new stuff right now. There's a new pause menu coming out. I know Ben has one of those in the can.
Oh, yeah.
So keep an eye out for that and check all that out. And you can find Phai wherever he's about to say.
Here
What
Let's
about for the
face-
audio listeners?
on TikTok at Sugar Daddy Loot Drops,
There
and
it
that's
is.
loot as NLUTE.
That you play like a Dungeon and Dragon.
Exactly. I will be posting occasional Dungeons and Dragons stuff, but currently it's all Last of Us. Check it out.
There it is.
There it is. Whoop, there it is.
And Ryan, where can they find you?
Hey, you can find me giving birth to a uninfected baby like Blade. DJ Tony Snark 616. If y'all don't get that reference, watch Blade. It's a great movie.
All right, and you can find me doing everything that I need to do to keep this channel running at Sparkz Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
Hashtag Double Daddy Pedro.
All right, until next time, stay fake nerds.